Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. Today, we are going to be looking at all of the strengthening quests that happen in FGO JP for the anniversary. I've kind of looked at all of them already. I kind of know what they do, but I don't think I uploaded those to YouTube. And rather than do, like, I don't know, a bunch of different small videos, I'm going to just break it all down for you all here right now. You can look at them. You can tell me what you think. I'm going to be kind of, like, analyzing them myself and making my judgment calls on that. I don't really have a tier list for all these characters, but I'm just gonna say whether this actually fixes these characters in the event that they need fixing, or just makes them better or not. I mean, all of them are gonna make them better, but obviously, but like, by how much, I guess, is the big thing. So, without further ado, let's take a look, shall we? Day 1, we had Muramasa got an NP up, and Medea got a skill upgrade. So let's take a look at Muramasa first. It was Muramasa's Noble Phantasm, which before, it increases NP damage by 10% for 3 turns. It removes all enemies' offensive buffs, and then deals defense ignoring damage, and then has the overcharge effect to increase arts performance for 3 turns. And the upgrade is that now instead of the arts, he gets a rainbow buff. And I'm pretty sure that's kind of, aside from, like, okay, every NP up is going to just give the character more damage with their NP, which is always good, especially for an arts unit who you're going to be using primarily for farming. You get his rainbow buff up. It's pretty good. They just gave him projection on an NP, which can be spammed, which is pretty good. But that's kind of just it, right? I would say, okay, so Muramasa as a servant has always been pretty good. Just because he puts out a lot of damage and he can loop relatively easily. The issue is that his best skills are mostly locked to 1 turn. So, like, his damage ones are buffed to 1 turn. So, like, this here, it's a 50% rainbow buff for 1 turn. Star absorb up by 1000%, make stars. Pretty good. If you're farming with him, you want to use this on the last turn. Second skill is ignore invincibility, which is helpful, and then also it will do more damage to people trying to protect themselves. And then the third skill, which is arguably his best skill, is a 50% battery, and then whenever he attacks, he gets 10% NP, which is pretty good skill. I don't really see Muramasa being used for much outside of farming. He's definitely, like, a decent saber on his own. It's just the issue is that all his buffs are... all of his damage is tied to 1 really big turn. And so when you're farming with him, you don't use his first skill immediately. You just try and, like, fire this off, then use the third skill on his 3rd turn. This just means that he can farm more efficiently, which is good, but it's just kind of like a weird buff to give him. I think it's just their way of trying to be like, I don't know, keep Emmy irrelevant. It's also they did a thing where they buffed Emiya, they buffed a Rin, and then they buffed a Sakura. Did they buff any sabers? I don't think that they did. Damn, crazy. But yeah, they buffed FSN related characters for the first 3 days. Well, some of them, not all of them, but you know. I don't know. It gives him more damage, which makes him more consistent, but overall as a buff, it's not like... it's not revolutionary. Somebody in my chat said Yui synergy, and that's very real. The Yui synergy is very good, but, like...
why use Muramasa if we have Jason with Sandcast?
I mean, pretty much, right? I don't know. It's fine. It's a fine buff. It doesn't do enough. I would say. It doesn't necessarily fix the things that are wrong with him. It just makes him a little bit more consistent with his farming, which I guess, you know, it's not bad. And then Medea, who got a skill buff to her third skill. Before, it was remove one ally's debuffs, and then increase their NP generation rate for 1 turn by 50%. The targetable debuff removal is pretty okay, but there's characters that do AoE debuff removal in the same class, in the same rarity. So, you know. And then this being 1 turn is negligible. And they upgraded it to now. It's a 30% art up for self, 20% art up for the party, 20% NP damage up for the party by 20%, and 50% NP gauge up for 1 turn for the whole party, or NP rate up for the whole party, 6 turn cooldown. This is a phenomenal skill upgrade. It makes her a proper support. Well, no, that's not even true. It makes her a proper pseudo support. So, the vast majority of the times when you're going to be bringing Medea to something, you're going to be bringing her to, like, so usually it's challenge quest related or bossing. And what this does is rather than her just sit there, she stabs a man twice and then dies, she now actually provides something to the party as well. Which is pretty significant, I would say. It gives her a nice niche outside of just stabbing a guy twice, which is what you did with her. You start her off with a K-scope, stab somebody, remove all of the buffs that they accrued, use her second skill, which is amazing. Sorry, first skill, which is 150% gauge up. Get it back, stab him again when you need him to. Shout out to the Parade of Hassan's challenge quest, where you just bring Medea to stab everyone to death. It's fantastic. This now makes it so that she can do that more efficiently while also supporting other people in your party. It makes her a pretty decent, like, art support for low rarity. And now she also has party-wide debuff removal, which is fantastic. It makes her way better at bossing than she was before, and bossing was all that she really wanted to do before. So, you know, it's pretty good. Just slap her into an arts team now that's going to be going up against a boss fight, and she'll do pretty okay, I think. I mean, she's not Castoria, but we kind of have some pretty nice options now in the low rarity art support field, which is if you need immediate burst damage with an arts unit, you bring Mozart. If you need to loop an NP pretty effectively, but you only really want to focus on looping the NP and you want the fight to be over faster, you bring Paracelsus. If you want to loop the NP but then also do a little bit more damage all around, you bring someone like Zhu Fu. And now, if you need someone who's like kind of a middle ground, who's going to be really good for bossing, you have Medea. So it's kind of good. You have someone who, you now have a low rarity art support for all of those, on top of other art supports that are around that are pretty good. So, you know, it's an extra thing. Which is very nice. Also, you know, Medea has ridiculously high NP gain from her attacks, and her getting even, like, more of it now, consistently with an arts up, is scary. And then also because they've realized that you want to use her to stab a guy, she now does more damage when she stabs a guy, which isn't really going to matter anytime, really. Primarily because every time you go in to stab somebody with Medea, they have an evade up, but then you remove the evade after damage along with all their other buffs. But otherwise, pretty good. Day 2, we had Ishtar and Robin. Ishtar buff. I believe it's the skill 3? Yeah. So before, this was just a delayed 50% attack up on a 3-turn cooldown for, yeah, just one turn. You pop this skill, the next turn it pops again, she gets the 50% up. It's like a mana burst on a 1-turn delay. which is, it's not bad. I mean, the extra damage is definitely good, but you know. And now it is a 5, yeah, same thing, makes a delay. Still 50% attack up, but now only her cards will appear, and then it increases her buff success rate by 20% for 2 turns, which is important because I believe it's her, yep, this one is an 80% and an 80% to proc, which in the past has absolutely gotten people killed, and is important to have. Does this fix Ishtar? Really? Not really. Ishtar was never really in, like, a bad place, per se. I mean, her damage was always pretty alright. Like, it's not the most ridiculous thing in the world, but it's always been pretty good. This just makes her more consistent, and now also she can lock in her cards and be better with it. So you can get a proper, like, Brave Chain off, which I will say, that is kind of nice if you are farming with her and you're in like a big node, to make sure that you don't have, like, I don't know, let's say you're doing a 3-turn farm thing with Ishtar, and you want to make sure that Ishtar gets in extra hits because her damage isn't doing enough with just the NP. This now locks it in so that she will get, her Buster cards will show up and nuke people. So you can now guarantee a Brave Chain, which that alone is pretty good. Which I believe, if I'm reading this right, yes. Okay, so after 1 turn, this pops. So when you hit the button, that doesn't happen. Once this pops, it activates all of that, so you can guarantee that that's going to happen after that, which is pretty good. Does it fix her? Not necessarily. Does it make her better? Sure, it makes her more consistent. So, good buff. Good buff for her. And then Robin Hood, I believe it was... Wait, what was his old first skill? Oh god, yeah. Yeah, it was his second skill. This was originally Golden Rule E, which is a 30%. NP up for 3 turns, which is okay. It's decent. And now it is a 30% battery, 30% NP gauge up, and a 20% arts up on a 6-turn cooldown. I mean, Robin has always been a pretty good budget archer. He just does a fuck ton of damage, and now he just does it more consistently, and he can get his NP back pretty consistently. So, you know, I mean, I don't know, how do I want to put this? Robin has always been good. He's always been good. He's just better now. It makes him more consistent. He has bad hits, yeah. 2-hit art, and then his NP is also an art, which is a 1-hit NP, like nuke. Yeah. Deals extra damage to poisoned enemies, which is, of course, what his sabotage skill is for. Which, you know, kind of nice. The sabotage skill is just, it's going to happen, as opposed to a % chance. And then he gets his stars, so he can get his stuff theoretically back more. It improves him significantly, I would say, because it's just bumping up his damage, and the whole reason why you're running Robin is because you want to hit something with his NP. Like, that's the whole deal, right? Is that you want to hit somebody with his NP so they take a one Robillion damage, and then they die. That's kind of always how he's always operated. So, you know, pretty good. Good buff for him as well. Iron Zebra, how's it going? Next up, Parvati. This was her second skill? No, third skill. Ashes of Calm. No, yeah, Blessings of the Goddess. Before, this skill was weird. Always kind of weird. You need her to have 10% NP gauge. She loses it, and then charges one ally's NP gauge by 20%, and then heals them for 3,000. on a 5-turn cooldown. How you would use this traditionally is on herself. So for her, it's just a heal and a 10% NP buff. Or NP, like, battery. Which, sometimes that mattered, but most of the times it was like, that wasn't enough. And now, they removed the demerit altogether. It's just targetable charge an allies' NP gauge by 30%, heal them for 3,000, increase their NP damage by 20% for 3 turns, 5-turn cooldown. Realistically, Parvati as a farming unit is still decently well. Like, she still is pretty good. Does a decent amount of damage, pops off. You're very rarely going to give this to somebody else, but in theory you could. Yeah, you're going to give this to her. I mean, I would think I would have buffed this skill instead, but yeah, I don't know. She gets good gains, she refunds for a lot, and she makes a shit ton of stars. So, you know, it's good. It's a good buff. And if you want, she now also feels like a kind of pseudo support thing if you need somebody targetable 30%. I don't know why you would. I mean, couldn't you just bring Zhu Fu? How much battery does Zhu Fu give? Does Zhu Fu give 20 or 30? But I guess the NP damage up is the thing you also want with that, but who cares? It's a good 30, I think. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. You're pretty much always going to use this on her, and it's going to work out pretty well. But this does mean that if you have her append up, you can just, on turn 1, you can buff her with the Scotty stuff. Use this on her if you have her append skill maxed. She gets the NP damage for the 3 turns, which is going to be pretty helpful, and then you can start looping pretty efficiently. So, you know, not bad. It helps her with her consistency, which is nice. Our boy Asterios also got a buff. And it was to his second skill. So before, this was he had less of a chance of being hit with debuff resistance, or rather offensive debuff resistance things, so like attack down and the like, by 100% for 3 turns, and then increases own defense by 40% for 3 turns. All in all, kind of a shit skill, right? The defense up is nice, but he's a 1-star berserker, and so he's just like, I don't know, he's made of paper. And now, increased buster performance for allies with chaotic alignment for 3 turns. Increased buster performance of demonic allies for 3 turns. Increases own offensive okay, and then this is the same thing, and then he has a star bomb for 20 stars. It makes him a decent support unit. So he is chaotic, right? Yeah, he's chaotic evil. I believe he's demonic beast, but not demonic. Yeah, so he only gets half of this buff. But weirdly enough, Asterios... Okay, this is going to sound like a psychopath thing. Asterios works better as like an off support. Or at least that's how I've always viewed him. He's a big beater, especially if you have him like grailed. He can put out some pretty significant damage. But the best thing about Asterios has always been his NP, which is ridiculously powerful because it's just consistent debuffing on somebody and for a significant amount. Like, if you can get him to throw out his NP multiple times and you can get it stacking, the things that are attacking you will not do any damage and they will have no defense. And you can, like, depending on the boss, you can stack this pretty easily. Any boss that has, like, a lot of the multi-hit shit for their attacks, so, like, think Geisha, somebody brought up that he can solo Geisha. Yeah, he can. He can solo Geisha because of this ability, because of his NP is so strong, because he keeps getting it back and he can keep on throwing it out. Like, you can do some pretty ridiculous shit with Asterios. So, what's the difference between demonic and demonic beast aside from the naming? The naming. pretty much. I'm sure that I could go into like some deep lore shit if I really thought about it, but I'm going to be honest with you. It's arbitrary. It's all yeah, semantics. It's all semantics. But yeah, this is... His NP is the best part about him. But this now also, I mean, if you're going to put him in a comp that, you know, wants to take advantage of his NP and help to, like, keep him alive, let's take a look at all the people who are chaotic. Damn, that's a lot of fucking people. Okay, let's find the really important ones here. Musashi's pretty good for that. Ibuki, Tesla, Gil, Scotty. Yeah, I mean, theoretically, yeah, you could use him with Scotty and just stack defense down. That could work. Let me see. Chen Gong immediately right there. But I guess okay. We need to think about people who are also who are going to care about getting this Buster up. So yeah, Ibuki, Gil, Tesla, Musashi. Tez doesn't really care. There is a world where Beowulf cares. Arc. Arc's a good one. Arc's a good one for that. Saber Mordred could benefit from it. Arash could benefit from it. Fucking Super Orion. And then if you wanted to hit twice, you need Demonic. Oh my god, Draco. Holy shit. I hadn't even considered that one. Hold up. Draco's Demonic for sure, right? No. What? The Demon of Babylon is not a demon? Draco's Demonic Beast? Okay, with all due respect. This is not a demonic beast. Wait, is it? Oh, it is. Draco is not a demonic beast. What?
Wife.
Wait, what? Hold on. I'm derailing this video. Where's Draco? Where's Draco? Chaotic alignment. Where is that fucking Tempura? Animal characteristics, Artoria, Dragon, Enema Elish, Nullification, Humanoid, Immune to Pigify, King, Non-Hominidite, Roman, Servant, Child Servant. This is not a demon. Satan is not a demon. Alright. Got it. Alright, well let's now look at all of the people who she can synergize really well with. Ibuki is a huge candidate here. Koyanskaya. Oh my god. Wait, Koyanskaya of Dark? Oh my god, the potential is so huge. The double Koyanskaya of Dark Asterios team, where they're consistently benefiting each other over and over again to stack infinite debuffs and then overcharge his NP so the enemy never does any damage and they just get fucking, like, dotted down forever, is actually viable. God damn. You could make that work. You could actually make that comp work. But yeah, the big winners on that one with them are Ibuki, Koyan of Light. Unironically, Kijo Koyo synergy works decently well. Duryodhana's okay for it too. And yeah, Koyan Sky of Dark. Yeah, pretty good. Point being, this is a great buff for Asterios. I think it helps him do what he wants to do a lot. And, God, he deserves it. What they need to change now... This skill's kind of bad, but it's not the worst thing in the world. He now has access to 60% Buster Up for a turn, which is pretty good. This skill, it needs to be altered. It's just a raw 3-turn, 30% attack up. I mean, theoretically, he can get 90% attack up in 1 turn by himself, and then hold a 60% attack. Actually, maybe this doesn't matter. That actually balances it out decently well. Yeah, I'd say that it makes him significantly more viable, and now he fits into some pretty fun comps. Next up, here's what I did not anticipate at all, is that they buffed Summer Servants. They buffed Summer Servants. They buffed her NP? Yeah. So, Summer Mordred is ridiculously strong pre-buff, because she can just... Hold on, let me put this in the right one. There we go. Because she can just loop her NP without Castoria. You don't need Castoria. Like, legitimately, if you have a... I think if you just have 2 fucking... Paracelsus, or like a Paracelsus and a Jufu, you can loop with Summer Mordred and clear, like, the max doors. What's her NP damage average? She can clear the door nodes. So, I'm gonna say enough. Like, her NP damage is pretty decent. It's not, like, phenomenal without those 2, or, like, without double Castoria. Like, it's not gonna be, like, I don't know, you're not gonna, like, farm too terribly many events with it that have, like, the super high ones, but, like, in terms of consistency of looping, she's ridiculous. Looped doors with Tamamo and Gil. I looped doors with her with Tamamo and Paracelsus, which I'm going to keep pushing the Paracelsus agenda because he's still relevant and still really good if you don't have, like, a solid art support. Consistent as long as you can deal with potato damage. She does enough damage that she can farm the QP node in, like, the main gate, which is legitimately probably all that she needs to do for the most part at NP1. You know what I mean? So her getting buffed at all is kind of like... I don't know. I can think of a lot of other servants who need a buff more. Like, I don't know, the pirates. Summer pirates are in a pretty bad spot, but, you know, whatever. I love Mordred. She's one of my favorite characters in Fate, period. I just adore her. She's very, very much wife material, and I adore her very much. Her NP before... Anti-wave, because Noble... I should do a video about stupid Noble Phantasm types. Somebody remind me I should write that down. Just do the Noble Phantasm types or weird video. I could do that. AoE, deals damage to all enemies, hits 5 times, refunds a shit ton, and then reduces their charge. This part never, like, barely ever comes into play, but, you know, pretty decent. And now... It increases own NP damage by 20% on waterside battlefield for 1 turn, and then just deals more damage. Increases own NP damage for 3 turns every time that she NPs, and then still does drain. In other words, she now farms even more consistently and with more damage. The waterside battlefield thing is who cares. Like, it'll come up every now and then, but... You know. But, you know, her getting a 3-turn NP damage mod just on the NP, which she wants to spam out consistently and can spam out consistently, and makes her damage better. I don't know why they buffed her. It's a fantastic buff for her. It just makes her, it does all the things that you want Summer Mordred to do even better, and she was already doing them fairly well. In a double Castoria world, Summer Mordred puts out a fuck ton of damage. In a double Castoria world with now a buffed NP and more NP damage here, she can farm like a beast. So, you know. For the upcoming summer event, she should be... I would hope that you have her as your, like, go-to if you've got her. She's good. Great unit. I don't know why they buffed her, but I'm here for it. And then Matahari. They buffed, not this, that was the second skill. So before, this was a chance to charm all male enemies for 1 turn by 60%, and then reduce all enemies' defense for 3 turns by 20%. The charm sucks. It did suck. And the defense down for 3 turns is pretty good. I mean, there's use cases for that. Now, though, it is Sweet Fragrance of Indulgence. Is a 500% chance to reduce all enemies' charm debuff resistance for 1 time, 3 turns. Which means that if hers somehow still whiffs, it has a higher chance to charm regardless. Or if you have somebody else who has like other charm available that isn't just locked to males like hers is, they can still charm people. And then, yeah, it's a chance to charm all male enemies by 60% for 1 turn, but it's a 500% chance that it does it, so it's more than likely to hit. Reduce all enemies' defense for 3 turns by 20%, and if they are charmed, they have even less defense by 30%, meaning if you charm an enemy with this, you're going to be doing 50% more damage for 3 turns to these enemies. And then a 30-star Star Bomb. Now, this buff is fantastic. It is amazing. It does... I've said it a couple times now, but like they're really finding their groove with what they want out of lower rarity characters. What they want Matahari to be is a debuffing debuffing crit support. Because of this skill here, which was also absolutely ridiculous and is still really good. So before, it's just a increase his own star gen for 30% 3 turns. Bad. For a character with 2-hit quick cards, bad. Now, increase party's critical star generation for 3 turns by 100%. Increase party's critical damage for 3 turns by 50%. This skill is stupidly good. It just means that you make more stars and do more star damage, but like so much more. And now with this, you can just hit people even harder. The one downside is that it has to be against males with her charm. But I mean, there's other characters that have charm in the game. Uriel or Kama support for okay, real shit with Kama. If you just slot her in with Kama like every now and then, if you like have her in the front line with Kama, activate her first ability, and then Kama activates hers afterwards. No, you want to use Kama's first. Grand Assassin raids? Yeah, she's gonna be very strong for whenever that happens. Her own NP has a universal charm. That's true. That is also true. Which I don't... I'm curious. I've not playtested this out, so I don't know. Okay, if this reads the way that I think it does... Okay, it does. When this skill procs, they get the defense down thing immediately, but it'll be blurred out if they're not charmed, and once they're charmed, it'll come back in. Meaning that this is going to apply to them regardless. And once they're charmed, it'll proc, which means that they then take that extra damage. So if you're like in a boss fight or something, and you hit them with this and they're not a male, they still get like they're more likely to get charmed. Have somebody else charm them, and then the defense down will proc. Which means that this does synergize really well with her NP, which does have a universal charm on it, which is also 60%, but because of this skill, she now has a better chance to charm them. Invest in Matahari stonks. She's maybe one of the better low rarity supports right now. And she can be slotted into just a lot of different teams on her own. Genuinely, I think it's defense down on NP2. Yeah, no, she just stacks so many debuffs onto people. 20% defense down for 1 turn, 20% attack down for 1 turn. It is only 1 turn, which does kind of suck, but, you know. And then, yeah, 3 turns defense down for this. It's just consistent debuffing. Probably the best low rarity damage support. Maybe, I'd have to look back through them. Maybe we should revisit my old low rarity tier list thing and remake that now that we've gotten all these buffs. That's this conversation for another time, though. But yeah, phenomenal buff for her. Probably the best buff we've seen yet. Legitimately, they did her so well. Also, the animation update. They put a lot of thought into her, and I really appreciate that. I'm gonna sneeze really loud. Give me a sec. Oh, it's getting stuck. Oh god, it's stuck. I think I'm fine. Okay. Keep going. Jack. They buffed Jack's first skill, Murder on a Misty Night. I think I predicted that they were going to do this. It is now increase own quick perform. Or sorry, before it was increase own quick performance by 50% for 1 turn. Get evasion for 1 turn. 6 turn cooldown. Not great. It kind of sucks when your damage mod is tied to an evasion because you have to make pretty rough choices in that. Now, still 6 turn cooldown. Is a 3 turn quick up, so 50% for 3 turns, which is great. NP damage up by 20% for 3 turns, which is also great. Evasion, and then NP gauge up by 30%. It's good. It is a good buff. The only thing, so what I had hoped that they were going to do, which would have been broken, but, you know, it would have made more sense with how they have this skill design, is that the evasion would have become like a protection from arrows-esque skill. It's a good buff, but they buff this instead of surgery. Here's the issue. Here's the issue with buffing surgery. Let's go into that. The reason you cannot buff surgery is because it breaks lore. Unless it was going to be a buff like this and then a debuff for like the enemies, they can't really change this. The 4 turn cooldown is a big part of it too, because it's a targetable heal for a not unsubstantial, like 2500 health can mean the difference between life and death in certain circumstances. Not many, but some. It's hard for them to, I feel like it has to be difficult to like come up with how you're going to do this if you're Lasagna, because it's like, okay, the reason she even has a surgery skill in the first place is because she dismembers people, right? So she has like an understanding of the human body and can like rudimentarily like heal people. But I don't know. I figured that they were going to fix this because they want to have her do what she does best, which is her damage. Like, I figured that this skill I still think is really good. I still think this skill is phenomenal. It's just remove enemies debuff, reduce critical damage by 30%. It's like, this one feels like an old Yu-Gi-Oh card that was really well balanced. It's just, does thing, puts you in a good position, that's it. It's not a fancy one that has like, oh, all these extra steps. No, it's just remove their buffs. They are less likely to crit you. Simple, easy. This, I don't know. It's good. It's good. I mean, you still do have to choose between like, when do you want to proc this? The timing on it could be kind of awkward too, because it is a 6 turn cooldown, but I don't know. There's so many ways to get like a defensive thing from your supports that like I feel like this doesn't matter as much anymore. But it might. There's times when it will. It just makes her hit harder, which is good because that's what Jack wants to do. Jack just wants to hit people super hard, and by people I mean particularly Whammon. Jack wants to run at women with her arms up in the middle of the night. That's what she wants to do, and this skill helps her do it better. I don't think it makes her on the tier with like the other, like big single target assassins, but it is a nice one for her. I hope that they do something with surgery, but I can't really think of what they would do. All right, and then they also buffed Sanson. It was third skill? Yeah. Before, it was just increase own damage against human enemies for 3 turns. Let's take a look at how many human enemies there are for this guy who's built like a boss killer. Oh no. That's not good. That's mighty awkward. In terms of relevant enemies with that, let's see. It's just people who look like normal people, and then Kirsteria is there. Kirsteria and Iskali are there. Neither of which he's going to be very good at, because I'm pretty sure Kirsteria is a caster, and this guy's a Avenger? Yeah. Surprisingly, though, somebody like Alice or like any of the pseudo-servants are not on this list, which is curious. Like, why is Waver not here? Or Ilya? Or Reynes? Because they're just people, right? So it's bad. It's a bad trait to have an anti against. None of the servants are humans, but that's still whack as hell. That's the thing, though, is that they are. That's my issue, is that they are. Human attribute, not trait. Am I, like, misunderstanding this? Am I, like, missing something? They have living human trait, but not human trait. That's kind of where I'm at with this. Like, no, it's stupid. It's a stupid thing that doesn't apply to anything, but they buffed it. So now, severing the threads of life. Oh, they have the human attribute, but not the trait. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. But he only cares if they have the human trait, not the attribute. Anyway, increase own instant kill success rate by 150% for 3 turns. Increase own instant kill success rate against human enemies for 3 turns by 150%. Increase own damage against human enemies for 3 turns by 60%. Increase own NP damage for 3 turns by 30%, and then a 20% battery. I'll be honest with you. Giving him an NP damage up and a battery and instant kill success rate, that alone I feel like is enough. That aspect of this is enough to make it a decent skill upgrade for him, considering that he is kind of bad. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. He's kind of bad. But now you can combine those in tandem with this. This is a fantastic skill. Increase own damage against enemies with the evil alignment for 3 turns by 60%. Hey, who all has the evil alignment? Damn, that's crazy. I mean, like, the meme for a very long time with Sanson is that he was designed with one very particular job in mind, and that is to kill Maeve. That's his whole deal, is that he kills Maeve. And then this skill's pretty good. It's just a targetable heal with a debuff removal, but it's all right. Better than it was before, just a heal, but now it's just the debuff removal on its ult's pretty nice. Getting the battery is good because his gains are really bad. He can't Buster Brave Chain because he has a Buster NP and 1 Buster card. The extra death chance up is a joke for the most part, but I mean, so long as the final enemy that you're fighting is a human, he's a fantastic unit. How often is that going to happen? Not always, but I don't know. He has a niche that he can work in, kind of, but overall, I mean, I don't know. The additional things with this buff make him a little bit more consistent, but unless you have him grailed, he's still really not gonna do anything, which is a shame because he did also get an NP update and it looks really clean. Next, this is the most surprising one. This one is legitimate. Well, yeah, no, this is the most surprising one. They buffed Nero Summer. Now, surprisingly, I use Nero Summer a decent amount because I have her at like NP 2 or 3, and for like, I don't know, ever since I got her in Summer 2, she was my go-to AoE caster because she does a shit ton of damage. Like, she always did a decent chunk of damage, and her skill kit is pretty good. It's just a battery, and that gives her more gen with lower HP, but that doesn't really matter. It's a 50% battery. That's what's important. Just straight up attack and defense up for 30%, and lose class disadvantage. And then targetable 50% attack up for 3 turns. So in other words, she just does 80% more attack damage and blows shit up. It's great. And then her NP before, which is AoE, ignores invincibility, deals damage, increase on NP damage. It's just a big AoE nuke, right? It does what you need it to do. I'd say overall, she wasn't bad. She was pretty decent. She just needed a character who's going to blow shit up. It's good enough. I suppose, though, with the release of Ashe, you didn't really need to use her because her and Ashe fill the same role, and Ashe does that job better. But now, this skill is increased own damage against enemies with Beast attribute by 50% for 1 turn. Increase own damage against threat to humanity enemies by 50% for 1 turn. Deals damage to all enemies. Charges NP gauge for the party by 10%. And then increases her own NP damage again. Let's look at Beast attribute really quick, shall we? What a smorgasbord of tsunderes we got here. But it does give her the very rare, like, damage mod where she's good against beasts. I think it's what? It's her and, oh, is it? It's just her. It's just her. And then threat to humanity is mostly foreigners. Yeah. Mostly the Lovecraftian foreigners and some of these other ones. Notably, these don't really overlap with one another. And also, they don't really show up. You know what I mean? I mean, arguably, you're gonna have a better chance with, like, clearing out mobs. Massive Ghost is considered a threat to humanity? Okay. Like, massive ghosts show up as, like, assassin beaters all the time. You'll see... No, not that one. These guys every now and then in farming waves. But other than that, like, this is not that common of a thing. What the fuck is this? This showed up once and never... Okay. Yeah, I thought... I was looking for Angry Mango, too, but yeah, that's his Bonsi. I forgot about that. Yeah, so it's 2 damage mods that don't show up. it so seldom shows up. And let me look at that beast again. How many of these actually care about her being a caster? Fucking none of them. I don't know. It's an interesting set of attributes to give to her. I feel like it's nice that she's going to do more damage, but I just don't feel like it's enough. I don't feel like it's enough to make her relevant against someone like Ashe. But I'm happy that she got a buff. I'm just kind of surprised and a little bit underwhelmed. And then Shakespeare. They buffed his second skill, which I'm kind of surprised with. I thought they would buff this one, because this skill is his big support skill, and it's kind of bad. So before, this was just a get out of jail free card functionally. He heals himself for 1500 and gets invincibility for a turn. And now, he still does that. Gets his invincibility for a turn, recovers the party's HP by 1500, charges the party's NP gauge by 10%, and then increases the party's NP damage for 3 turns by 20%. It's like a worse version of the Medea skill. It's like a more defensive version of that. Iambic pentameter. It's not bad. It's definitely like pretty good, because you're gonna bring him to support, like mostly berserkers and AOE like beaters. If you're gonna bring him at all to use, or you can use it for himself. I mean, Shakespeare can do okay damage, not amazing damage by any stretch of the imagination, but like you can make him work if you want to use him as a DPS. It's just, why did they not touch this skill? I feel like this would be the one to go for, because like it's only a 40% up for 1 turn on a 5-turn cooldown. Like, that's so bad. It's a worse version of a what's it called? Of a mana burst. We don't know what awaits in the Grand Caster fight. That's true. I'm not gonna say this is a bad skill upgrade, because it's definitely good. It gives you a reason to bring Shakespeare. I mean, it's definitely more love for like the low rarity characters. The problem is that we still don't really have a low rarity Buster support that's consistent. I mean, you can say Chen Gong, I suppose, but like, Chen Gong is mostly Berserker coded, and you're not using him as a support, you're using him as a DPS. It was originally Shakespeare, and then also Leonidas, who are your low rarity ones. Unless I'm forgetting somebody off the top of my head, but like, you'd bring them as your budget Buster supporters. And Leonidas, they just kind of leaned more into him being a tank. I don't know. Kind of interesting. Interesting change for him. It's good. Also, his NP, or his animation update is fantastic. Yeah, realistically, they could have just put these sets on his skill 1, made this party wide, and made it... Yeah, just make it party wide. I don't even know if you need to bump up the turn count. Even if it's just like 2 turns instead of 3, I feel like that's enough. But, I don't know. And then our final 2, Waiver. I didn't expect this, but I'm not as surprised as I am with Nero Bride, or Nero Summer rather, because Waiver is, I mean, he's a Fate classic, right? He's a certified Fate classic. Also, he's a pretty popular character all around. For one, he shows up all the time. He's great whenever he shows up. And, you know, he's near and dear to the community's heart. And also, if you're just starting the game, he's a free unit. He's like the one you should be picking if you're just starting the game, so they give you a free 5-star. Well, let me put him in the right ascension. There we go. Yeah, yeah. Second year most used servant, yeah. And so his whole deal, in case you don't know what Waver does somehow, is that his whole kit gives you 50% battery with benefits. First skill before, targetable, 50% crit up for 3 turns, 30% NP gauge. Great skill. Second skill, it was a 10% NP gauge up for the party. Defense up for the party by 30%. Damage taken reduction by 500 for 3 turns. Pretty good. Third skill, 30% attack up for 3 turns. 500 damage up for the party, and then the remaining 10% that you need, he can get you to 50%, and then you use your battery on your own, then you can NP. He is the go-to, or for the longest time at the very least, was the go-to put him in the back when you need him character. Now, as time has gone on, they released his pupil, also sibling question mark, Reynes, who did something similar to his kit, but was more defense-oriented. And people realized that, you know, for longer fights, and because her skills also did a little bit more, Reynes was a little bit better, so they would bring Reynes instead. Stepsister? Right. And so Reynes kind of came into favor as opposed to Waver. Not that Waver ever, like, fell out of favor that much, because Reynes was limited, but and her NP is also ridiculous. His NP is also pretty good, though, is the thing. His NP will save your ass so often. Reduce NP gauge, curse, stun. It's awesome. It's not a guaranteed stun, but when it procs, it procs. Yeah, they leaned in really hard into Reynes, which made it hard to justify to bring Waver. So, in order to make him better, hold on. The big servants that push him to the side, though, are the color buff supports like Castor and Scotty, though. That is correct. They are the ones who pushed him out of the front line, but you would keep people would keep a Waver in the back line because he provided that extra bit of oomph that you really needed. The thing that really killed him was Oberon, who gave 70% and also a massive NP damage up. I'd say Oberon's the real killer here. But even then, like, he's still a walking 50% with some pretty significant benefits. And so, I guess they're trying to modernize him, and what they did was increase critical damage for an ally for 3 turns by 30%. NP gauge by 50%. NP gauge by 30%, or NP gauge by 30%. NP damage now by 30%, and overcharge one ally's NP by 2 stages for 1 time, 3 turns. What this means for Waver in particular is that he's now a walking 50% battery with overcharge and NP damage. Which means that he now makes servants blow things up significantly more efficiently and can work pretty decent as, like, an emergency button if you need it. It doesn't... I don't know. He suffers... The issue with Waver is that he is a jack-of-all-trades, master of none. And he just is... He's so all-around that he doesn't necessarily have a niche, but you can slot him in pretty readily. There are going to be some comps that are going to be able to abuse this skill up pretty well. Who gives more MP damage, him or Tamamo? Probably him now. I'm farming. He has a better usage now. I think that this definitely makes him more viable in the modern setting. So, it's good. I mean, the way how I kind of like thought about it is that if you want to think when you're deciding on whether you want to bring him or you want to bring Reynes, if you want the fight to be over faster, bring him. If you want the fight to drag on a bit because you know it's going to be like more stally, you bring Reynes. So now you actually can do a pretty even split. Like, okay, I know that this fight is going to end after like the first or second break bar, and so I just need to get to that point as fast as possible. Bring Waver. Like, okay, this fight's going to be longer now, but I want to keep up like a pretty consistent charge and also like defend myself more. Okay, bring Reynes. But also, you know, again, Waver's a free unit, functionally. You're going to get a Waver for free if you just start out the game, because you get a free 5-star ticket and he's on it. In other words, you should have him. Even before you get any of the other meta supports, I always talk about these things from like the whale mindset, or I guess like the long-time player mindset, which is to say that I assume that you already have a lot of the people in the cast, primarily all the main supports. If you don't, Waver is a fucking godsend. You know what I mean? Like, Waver he's now going to cover for you significantly better than if you don't. So, you know, if you got him, use him. He's great. And then our final skill buff for our final boy, Darius, age 3. They gave him an animation update. His NP now looks fucking sick. It's great. Yep, anybody can pick Waver for free. He's a free unit. So that makes him fantastic. Alright. Okay, yeah, so this is the one they buffed before, which was that it was his battle continuation, which now reduces Buster for enemies by 20% for 3 turns. That is important. That is actually very important for him. It makes his damage significantly more consistent, which is really good for a low rarity character with kind of doo-doo damage. His second skill is... it's alright. It's just remove debuffs, heal. That's pretty good on a Berserker. And now, before it was Golden Rule, which was the same skill that Robin had, except I think this was a higher ranked one. 45% NP generation up, that's fantastic for his fucking 2 cards that generate NP. And now, it is the Divine Gate shall not be sealed off A. That's an awesome skill name. 30% battery. NP generation rate for 3 turns by 45%. Buster up for the party by 3 turns. Increase party's damage against enemies with lawful alignment for 3 turns by 30%. There's a lot of lawful servants. There's a lot of lawful servants. This skill is awesome. It makes him do what he wants to do more efficiently, which is great for a low rarity character who needs to find their niche. He now has a battery, which again, if you just have a starting 50% CE, you are gonna if you roll the gacha long enough, you will have the coins for him. So you can unlock his thing relatively easily if you want to do that. And then he just has a first turn board wipe, functionally. The NP generation, I'm going to be honest, does not matter that much. You also have his third skill, so this reduces their NP, their Buster resist even more. He buffs the party's Buster up, the party's Buster damage by 20%, so you're functionally doing 40% more Buster damage, which is great. And then the lawful thing, I mean, it won't play in all the time, but when it does, it's going to make him hit even harder. I think that you can probably Buster loop with him, but honestly, you can just use him as a pretty solid beat stick. Darius just took over Spartacus's job? A little bit, yeah. Spartacus is much more beefy By that I mean, like, Spartacus can take a few more hits than Darius can and survive. Which is kind of the nice thing with Spartacus, that he's hard to kill. Meanwhile, Darius is still kind of squishy. He just has his one guts and then he dies. But this also gives him application as a pretty low rarity buster unit that can support other low rarity buster units. I mean, him and Chen Gong are gonna get on swimmingly now. If your go-to Zerker is Spartacus, having an alternative to Bond in Darius is not a bad thing. No, not at all. If you're looping, you won't take any hits. That is true. That is true. I mean, I'm just glad that they're showing attention to him. I really am. And it's a good skill buff for him. It makes it so that he's a little bit more modernized. Is he going to replace any of your, like, higher rarity ones? Not necessarily. But, you know, it's not a bad thing. Leray Gaming, thank you for the follow. Welcome, welcome. Hope you enjoy your stay. Sorry, my alert box is broken right now, but thank you so much. Yeah, no, pretty good all around. I would say the big winners of today are Medea. Medea is one of the bigger winners. Asterios. Summer Mordred. Matahari might be the biggest winner. Matahari might be the biggest winner of today. Ishtar is a big winner. Ishtar is a big winner, but I think the biggest winner is probably Matahari. Ishtar is the... I don't think so. I think Matahari is the biggest winner. She now fills a very, very unique niche that is fairly universal. With 2 being changed, does anyone still have Golden Rule? I will check that here after this. But yeah, no, it's pretty good. It's really good. Waver won pretty decently. Okay, whose buffs don't matter? Let's look at the ones whose buffs really don't matter. Muramasa's doesn't really fucking matter. Medea's is pretty good for her. It gives her a niche that she can now abuse. Ishtar's is really pretty strong. It makes it so that she can dish out some pretty significant damage. Robin Hood's is good. I wouldn't say it's defining for it, but it's good. Parvati's is good. It gives her some more consistency. Asterios' is really good. It helps him do what he wants to do even better. Summer Mordred's is fantastic. It makes it so that she can just keep looping forever. Matahari's is absolutely batshit amazing. I love it. Jax is good for consistency's sake. Sanson's is... the buffs that he got are good. That were not pertaining to human. All of the stuff around the human stuff was good. The human stuff itself, not so much. They just needed to change that. I kind of get why they didn't, but at the same time, like, god damn it. It's a fun buff, but it doesn't make him necessarily a better unit, but whatever. Nero's is more NP damage, that's pretty much it. Her extra things are never going to come up. Jesus Christ, Waver. Shakespeare's is decent. It gives him a little bit more oomph to what he's doing, but it's not defining for him. Waver's is ridiculously good for him. It makes him a better unit. Why did they buff Waver? Tamamo is in shambles. And then fantastic buff for our boy Darius here. I'm going to still say I think Matahari's is the best one out of the bunch, but I'm also being kind of biased here. Oh. Waver is sobbing being dragged from retirement. Making him get out of retirement home. He'll be fine. Waver's buff is what actually fixes Sansa. The Ishtar buff is insane. Am I missing something? with what makes it insane. I mean, she's gonna do more damage, yeah, and she can now chain. But other than that, I'm like, I feel like I'm missing something as to why it's insane. The skill is very low cooldown. Yeah, no, I get that. I suppose you could double Koyan her in farming and get 100% attack up, which is pretty good. And then she gets her chain, which means that she can fire that off. Does that make her the best AoE Buster Archer? I would need to look at that list again, because I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. But yeah, good buffs all around. Yeah, I think that they're gonna buff Tamamo with the release of Extra Record. I feel like that's why they didn't do it this time around. That could just be me doing like Hopium or Copium, what have you, but it means she has access to her Buster crits for at least one wave. Matahari's buff falls under the difficult category of tying it to a stun skill, which most bosses are immune to. I don't think that they are. I think that the big drawback is that it's tied to that her own personal stun that isn't tied to her NP is tied to only men. Like, yeah, a lot of bosses, I don't even think a lot of bosses have debuff resist that much. And normally if they have a debuff resist, it's for something very, very specific. It's like this boss cannot have their defense reduced, or this boss cannot be given dots or something like that. Or this boss cannot be stunned. And they're very particular about that because normally it'll be stun. Not charm, it'll be stun. But yeah, everything about her is, you know, pretty good. Stun immunity is super common. I suppose. But still, even before that, good. It's good. It's good for all of it. All these are pretty good. All right. Well, say bye to YouTube. Bye, YouTube. Hey, fellas, how's it going? If you are... Okay, hold on. Pause. Doesn't charm fall under stun? No. All of that is worded differently. They're all different. Charm, stun, petrify, and bind, and sleep are all different forms of immobilization, but they're not all stun. So if a person has stun immunity, they can still be and pigify, thank you. They can still be hit with like Medusa's petrify ability because it's not worded as stun. It's petrify. Much the same way they can still be hit by Kashin Koji's bind ability because it's not stun, it's bind. Or Cersei's pigify because it's not stun, it's pigify. The wording in that is important. Is not worded is the key here. Yeah, it's like a Yu-Gi-Oh card. Think of it like a Yu-Gi-Oh card. If it doesn't list this particular way that it cannot be gotten rid of, if it says this card cannot be targeted, you can still kill it with a board wipe. But, yeah. They all have the same effect, but they're all worded differently. Anyway, outro time. Hi, YouTube. How's it going? Check us out over on twitch.tv/ClidgeRadio, where you can tell me I'm wrong about these buffs. I'm looking forward to it. I like these buffs for the most part. I mean, some of them are kind of lackluster. There's definitely some characters I feel like should have been hit instead of some of these. I'm mostly looking at Nero here. And kind of Parvati, but not really. I don't know. The Parvati buff's great. Whatever. Good buffs all around. I'm happy that the people who got buffed got their buffs. If you like this kind of content, hey, check us out over on twitch.tv/ClidgeRadio. You, if you're watching over on YouTube, can also keep up with all the content by subbing or following or dropping a like, leave a comment, all that good stuff. Come join the Discord. Link is down below. For now, though, fellas, peace out. Big love. Bye-bye.